Okay, we are doing a tutorial on the Dreadbox-Polyend Medusa. Yeah, I spent a large chunk of this summer helping beta test this thing. Enjoyed it. It was a hoot trying to figure out how something works without having a manual. As well, I gave some feedback on writing the manual, and it was just a fun experience. So anyway, because I was involved with it kind of behind the scenes, I'm not going to do a review, but I will do, because there's nothing stopping me from that, a tutorial on how the sequencer works. I'm not a big sequencer guy, but this thing does some things that I was surprised by, based on the 4 or 5 other hardware sequencers I've worked with. So I'll dive into that a little bit, give you some feedback about what I think is really cool, and give you some step-by-step demonstrations. So anyway, I am drinking a Einga Altbayerisch Dunkel, which means Old Bavarian Dark. It's pretty good. I like the flavor. You know, I'm a dark beer kind of guy. But anyway, so let's get straight into the tutorial. Again, the Dreadbox-Polyend Medusa, which just hit the street, or maybe it's hitting the streets right about now, I'm not sure. Anyway, so sit back, relax, enjoy this, learn something about how this works. Again, there's some unique ideas that they incorporated into this, extremely cool. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, enjoy a synth and a beer. Cheers. Okay, we're going to do a tutorial for the Dreadbox-Polyend Medusa. I'm going to show you how the sequencer works, just run through it, give you some examples. The manual describes it fairly well, but reading and seeing it done is two different things sometimes. So. If you want to do a sequence, you want to see if there's any data already in the sequencer. So the easiest way to do that is to hit this grid button. And that puts you in grid mode. And all these lights represent data in each of these little grid areas or pads. So you can know for sure if there's data in it if it's lit up. This one pad right here has no data. It's not lit. So anyway, we want to delete all of this data. So we hit the record button. It's flashing, you know it's in the record mode. Hit hold and clear together, and it says you're clearing notes and parameters. And parameters is what I call the patch modifying data as well. Rotate this to all steps, release, it's all gone now. So in grid mode, there's no data. This is just showing you which pad, which step is active. So again, there's 2 modes that the sequencer can be in grid mode or notes mode. If it's in grid mode, the grid button will be lit, and it says grid mode up here. Deselect that. If the grid button is not lit, it is then in notes mode, and you have to be in notes mode to add notes to the sequence. So, okay, we've cleared the data, so now let's set the length of the sequence. This little knob button, it's a digital encoder, press it once, gets you to the preset menu, and we can go to sequence length. Now right now the sequence length is 63. You can either adjust it with the knob, or you can just hit where you want the last one to be. Let's make it 16 steps. So now it's 16 steps. Hit back. Let's set the tempo. Let's make it 90. Back. Okay, so now we have set a 16 step sequence up. We've cleared the data, and we set the tempo at 90. So now let's record something. Okay, let's input some notes. We'll hit record. Record is flashing. And we'll do it from the pads here. Stop recording, hit play. So we added some notes, 16-step sequence, input from the pads. It's easy enough to do it from the Arturia key step as well. In fact, you don't have to erase anything. If you want to record another 16 steps, you just hit record again and start recording. So you say, I don't like one of those notes, I want to get rid of it. So how do you do that? Well, once again, you hit record mode and you turn it to the pad you want to delete or clear, and you hit clear. So it skips to the next one. Now let's play it. That note should have been deleted. Okay, let's clear that one now. Blinking to what's active, hit clear. So we play it again. Okay. If you want to delete all 16 of them, you can just clear it all like that. So now, there's no data in there. If we go to grid, it shows no data. Back to notes mode, and we'll do one last sequence, and then we'll add patch modifying data to this, which you do from the grid mode. Okay, now we're going to add some patch modifying data. This is the second type of data that each of these little squares or pads can store. You can access the patch modifying data by going into grid mode. So we see in grid mode it shows that there's 16 steps that have data in it right now. And right now it only has note data, not any patch modifying data. So what we'll do now is we're in grid mode, hit record, and then you can select which one you want. Now, interesting, this is kind of funny. It keeps it, when you can play the notes, but it will only play the notes that have been saved into it. So I can play the sequence by doing it manually. And it also shows you what the note is. B2, D3, F sharp 3. So we want to modify that first note. And what we can do is we can tweak anything over here in the way of a parameter, and it's like a snapshot. It will save, it's almost like saving a mini patch within a patch. It will save whatever we tweak over here to that one step of the sequence. So let's change the waves real quick. There. Now it's hard to see sometimes, but this pad right now is a teeny bit brighter than the other 15 pads. And it's because it has two types of data in it right now. It has note data and patch modifying data. So let's add patch modifying data to this one right here also. And let's... Basically, I'm changing the waveforms and moving it up an octave or so. And let's open the filter just slightly a little bit. Okay, so you can see this one and this one are slightly brighter than the other 14. So when we play it, you'll hear the difference too. I don't know about you, but I think that's cool as heck. So, and again, each of these can be 16 individual little patches for each step, if you want to take the time to do that. Now, sometimes that's a little time consuming to program each and every one, but if you want, here's another cool thing. Go into record mode, or hit record, we're still in grid mode. Press one of the pads, it'll say copied now. So you hold it for a couple seconds, then it registers as copied, and then you hit the other pad where you want it to be copied to. Copied, step 4 to step 6. So notice that one, and that one, so 1, 4, and 6 are now a little bit brighter than the rest. Now you can also do this on the fly. We're going to start it playing and then we're going to hit the record button, and then while it's going we're going to change parameters over here, and you'll notice that it will change what is recorded in these for the grid, for the patch modifying values. Okay, so that last move, I increased the attack for the amplitude envelope, and that didn't sound that good. So, well, let's delete all the parameter data that I just added, okay? So you have to be in grid mode, hit record, and then hit clear. And it'll say clear parameters, selected steps or all steps. So let's say I want to delete 3 steps. So let's hit those 3, lift up the clear button. Now those 3 have the patch modifying data deleted. If you can see, those are a little bit less bright than all the rest. Now when you remove the patch modifying data, it goes back to the overall default patch for the program. So when I deleted the modifying data for these 3, it went back to the normal settings for the patch. So we're going to clear all the notes, or all the steps. So right now we have nothing but patch modifying data. Well, why would you want to modify the patch sound when there aren't any sequence notes? Well, here's the cool thing. I'm using the Arturia key step to play the patch now. And I can use these kind of like instant mod wheels. So even if you're not using the sequencer, you can program up to 64 modifications to your base patch and then use that to modify it on the fly while you're playing, which when I discovered how that worked, I was very impressed. Very cool. So let's go ahead and delete all of this now, I guess. So go to record. For all your actions where you will delete something or clear it, you have to be in record. And we're in grid mode, record, hit hold clear. It says clear notes and parameter. We're going to do all steps. Now it's all gone. There is no data in the sequencer and no note data, no patch modifying data, nothing. It would be showing otherwise. Now we're back to just playing. We're in notes mode. So let's program another real quick sequence. We're in notes, hit record. So let's go in grid mode where we're going to modify the patch modifying data. Let's pick one. And so now that I've selected that, that's the active one. Hit record. And I'm going to give that last note or last step some stranger stuff. Let's give it an LFO. You got to double click to turn on the LFO. Okay, it's on. Now, here's a little trick. If you press and hold the LFO button and then move whatever you want that link to, it'll automatically associate it. You don't have to use the target knob here, or you can use the target knob. So I'm going to link it to cutoff. It went from saying none here to saying cutoff, LFO1 cutoff. It shows you what the target is. And bring the amount down. So now that last step will have that weird vibrato LFO thing. Let's slow it down so you can hear that a little better. Tempo. Okay, let's copy that last pad. Oh, see that little dot lighting up right there? That means that it's calibrating the oscillators. As soon as I start to play, it'll stop. Okay, so copy step 16, press step 1. Step 16 copied to step 1. So okay, now the cool thing is, because right now you're playing in mode 1, which is monophonic with, well, as many of the 6 oscillators as you want, the 3 analog and the 3 digital, you can also change the individual, like I said, the patch modifying data to where you can change the pitch. So one of these actually has chord notes in it if you want. So let's take that. Hit record. We're going to add patch modifying data to this step. So So I've tuned that up to a 7th. I tuned that up to a 5th and a higher octave. Actually, let's tune that up higher too. Okay, so let's copy it then. Let's play it. So if you really wanted to, you could get creative, and because these will tune 12 plus or minus 12 semitones, you could program chords for each of the steps. That would be the hard way to do it, I admit, but it's feasible. So anyway, hopefully you got something out of that. That was not as smoothly delivered as I hoped it would be, but it'll probably help explain some things that reading through the manual just doesn't communicate quite as well. So cheers.